Very good morning and welcome back for the 5 week to startup challenge. So, as I mentioned before, we have done 5 topics in the previous week from Monday to Friday. All the YouTube shorts are available in the description below. And today is the masterclass of all the topics what I covered. The most important phase for any startup is ideation. And the second important aspect of building your product or service is the domain knowledge. Now, there are many a times we miss small things while focusing on building the product. We rush into few things. Let me give this formula, which is very, very important. The more time you spend on ideating and understanding the domain, the lesser time you will take in building and taking it to the market. So please take your time and spend time ideating. And I will tell you the ideation process, how you go through it, all in this masterclass. So let's begin. Just wanted to give an introduction for people who are listening to this masterclass for the first time. So I'm doing something called a 5 weeks to startup challenge on my YouTube channel, on which every day I share a 1 minute short video on a particular topic. And end of the week on Saturday, I do a masterclass on the topics what I covered. So we will do 5 weeks of the topics and 5 masterclasses, which will enable you to start thinking on how you should start building your product. So we started the program on 26th of August and we are ending it on 5th of October. So this is the timeline. So subscribe to my channel to keep getting the updates, and every morning between 9 and 11, I drop the video for that day. All right. So the next one is the schedule. If you want to pause here, you can do it. Otherwise, I have it in the description below. So this is the schedule and these are the topics what I will be covering. So this week is ideation and domain knowledge. Next week would be market research and value proposition. The following is business modeling. Week 4 is storytelling, hooks, how to build your technology roadmap and all the aspects. Week 5 is going to be business roadmap and creating your pitch deck, what goes into pitch deck. And the last week is managing your finances. How do you bootstrap? If you want to raise funds, what are the ways you can raise funds? I've done these videos before. I'll give the link here if you want to get there sooner. But otherwise, I will do fresh set of videos for the last topics. So the agenda for today's masterclass is, first thing, we understand what is ideation. What are the ideation techniques? I shared 3 of them on my shorts, but here we will look at about 7, which are very practical, meaningful, and what I see fit for every aspiring entrepreneur or problem solver. And understand the ideation process, what goes into the ideation aspects and what you should focus on, and gaining domain knowledge. Domain knowledge, predominantly it focuses on 3 aspects, which I've covered in the shorts, but I will also stress upon why it is important to look at those areas. So, fear is not good for great. Yes. Why I have this quote is because many a times, including me, we start fearing even before we are starting. So if you start thinking about fear, then you cannot achieve great things. You should have the fear that you might not do things correctly, but the world is not perfect, everything is not great, and we might not be hitting the jackpot from day one. For example, I've been doing YouTube videos for the last at least 2 months consistently, and I've done few videos about 6-7 years ago. You can see the difference of where I was and where I am today. Much better, I feel, than the previous week's videos, but I'm still getting better, and I have a long way to master the whole science of video making and content sharing. So don't have the fear, jump in and start doing. I'm sure you will get to where you need to get to. What is ideation? In simple terminologies and as per the definition, ideation is the process of finding the appropriate solution for the identified problem using proven techniques or methods. What does that mean to elaborate on the whole aspect is, first, for us to solve a problem, we need to understand the problem. And for us to understand the problem, we need to understand what is the domain it is operating in. Are we trying to solve a B2C problem, or a B2B problem, or a personal problem, an industrial problem? What kind of problem are you wanting to solve? And when you start looking at solving the problem, we need to understand how the whole domain operates. That's when the maximum output comes out of us for a better product or service where people will start engaging with you. I have shared a couple of them on my shorts before, but here are the 7 I'm going to do here today. Mindstorming, brainstorming, reverse brainstorming, 6 thinking hats, the scamper method, the brain writing, and the mind mapping. I've talked about mindstorming and brainstorming before, but let's do a little bit more deep dive into what those topics are all about. So to begin with, mindstorming. I have found this technique very, very powerful. Now, when I say powerful, what does that mean? Our mind produces more than 60,000 thoughts a day. How many are we capturing? Probably 0. And how many thoughts are actually meaningful and practical? Probably 1 or 2 of them. But we don't take action, it just goes out as a thought. That's about it. For example, you're stuck in a traffic jam and you have an idea how you can solve this problem. By the time the traffic jam is done and we reach home, 99% of the time we ignore the problem. We even forget that we have thought about a solution for that problem. So mindstorming is a technique which will help you generate good number of ideas for solving a particular problem. I'll take a small example. What I wrote here is, let's do an idea, or my problem is I want to make $1 million. That's my problem statement. And trust me, I did this exercise last year and I couldn't go beyond 5 or 6, right? And I took about 7 or 8 hours to get to the 20 solutions, what I'm going to talk about. So you write the problem down and then identify 20 ways you can solve the problem. So in the example here, what I'm saying is, I want to make $1 million. How do I make $1 million? I can do a startup. I can start a business. I can start a franchisee. I can drive Uber. I can drive Ola. I can do YouTubes. I can drive Rapido. I can do real estate. Like this, you identify 20 things which come to your mind. Trust me, after some time, you will hit a roadblock. So my sincere suggestion is, if you are looking at doing mindstorming for yourself, shut down the technology around you. Tell your family not to disturb you until you come out of the room, or go and sit in a coffee shop in a calm environment, listen to some motivating music, and put your phone in airplane mode and take a book, pen and paper, and start writing all those ideas what you're getting. Now, once you hit the 20, see what makes sense and pick up 1 or 2 of them and translate them into a problem. For example, in the slide what I'm showing, I want to do a startup, correct? So what kind of startup becomes my problem statement? And then I start identifying 20 ways or 20 things I can do to do startups. So for example, I can do a startup in health tech. I can do a startup in biotech. I can do in fintech. I can do in AI. I can do in ML. N number of things will come into your mind. Start writing them down. Now, to get even better, pick up one solution, again make it a problem statement. For example, in health tech, what can I do? I can build some health tech app. I can build a health tech marketplace. Goes on. And if you want to go further, you can do health tech. I mean, I want to develop an app. So I go, okay, should I do an iOS app? Should I do an Android app? What are the kind of people I'm targeting? What is the outcome of it? Believe me, if you start with step 1, you can generate up to 8,000 ideas. Believe me, we have 60,000 ideas a day, and we almost ignore every one of them. But if you focus on the mindstorming technique, you can make meaningful 8,000 ideas come into your mind, and then you start working on what comes to your which comes close to your heart, and start focusing on building that. So that's mindstorming for you. And when I started my YouTube channel, what kind of topics I want to talk, what kind of things I want to do. There are a lot of things I can do. I can do product reviews. I can do, concepts reviews. I can share my experiences. I can do a lot of things. But I said, I'm going to start with something very small, which is sharing the information, what I have accumulated till now in terms of starting up. My entrepreneurial journey, combined with my exposure to the corporate world, brought them together, and that's how I started. And if you see the topics, that's how they are coming. And over a period of time, I have ideas into go into a lot of other things, which for various reasons, I don't want to start revealing them right now, but you will see them mature over a period of time and sustenance of the channel. Now, post the mindstorming technique, let's look at the next one, which is brainstorming. Brainstorming, as you all know, it is not rocket science. Identify a problem to solve, invite people who have experience in that particular area or particular domain, and start discussing on how you can solve the problem. This is typically what happens in our corporate world when we sit down for brainstorming, because all our team members, we know what problem we are solving and how do we solve it better, bring out the best solution, start working on it. That's how we look at brainstorming. The third one is reverse brainstorming. This is a little different than the regular brainstorming. How you bring people into the room, but bring people who are opposing that particular problem statement and the problem solution. For example, you have an idea, you want to do something in a certain way. Bring people who did not buy into that whole concept at all, and start discussing with them why it is not going to work out. And when you start talking to people, you will realize when they give their reasons, they become a part of your solution, addressing a much longer business case or a much bigger business case. So this goes into reverse brainstorming. Most predominantly, I would encourage, if you want to do reverse brainstorming, bring especially if you're building a product in B2C segment or B2B segment, these are the areas where you can bring people who are against it and start looking and discussing with them why it will not work out. The 6 thinking hats. The 6 thinking hats is a very, very common thinking or ideation technique. Edward B. Bono conceptualized the whole idea, and all of us know what it does. Just for discussion purposes, just to refresh our memories, I'm going to talk about what are those 6 hats. The white hat focuses on facts and information. So divide your time when you're ideating yourself. Look at the problem, wear the white hat, and only capture the facts and information what you require for solving the problem. The red brings out the emotions and the feelings. So see what are all the emotions which you're getting when you're wanting to solve the problem, and identify and write them down. The black hat makes you become critical and cautious. I'm doing my startup. What is it I want to do? How am I going to do? What are my facts? What are my emotions towards the solution? And when it comes to black hat, you start, what if it doesn't work? How much money would I require? How do I get the required money? What if I run out of funds? All these things come into the black thinking hat perspective. Yellow is optimistic and positive. Be positive when you are wearing this hat. For every critical aspect what you have thought about, every emotion what you've thought about, what are the facts you've thought about, bring them together to look at what is the optimism in those things for you to solve the problem. Green is creative and lateral, so it enables you to start thinking in different perspectives in solving the problem. The blue is the process. Now, everything requires a process to solve. You can't start with the end at the beginning. So you have to start at the beginning. So set the process, set the timelines, and see how you're going to solve the problem. So This is the 6 thinking hats methodology. But predominantly as entrepreneurs, what happens is you keep wearing these hats very frequently. In any stage, every day, you keep wearing mostly all the 6 hats, but predominantly at least 3 or 4 hats you are wearing every day to solve or address a particular situation. So 6 thinking hats is not something you start writing down, but it's a practice. When you're thinking about emotions, don't let facts come into picture. And when you're thinking about facts, don't let the emotions come into picture. And when you're being critical, don't bring in optimism into the thought process. And when you're thinking optimistic about the solution, don't be critical about the solution. So we do this, but it comes with practice. So focus on practicing the 6 thinking hats all the time. The camper model. So scamper model is very different in a unique way. The reason I included this is something what not all of us or most of us have not heard it on a regular basis. So what does the scamper method say? Simple. Substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. What happens in each of these things? Substitute allows you to consider the parts of the problem which can be replaced or swapped, right? So that's the area of the problem which you feel that, hey, I can probably replace this method with this method, or this solution with this solution, or this technology to that technology, whatever it is. So you are identifying areas of the problem which can be substituted. Combine, on the other side, brings together the thought processes where you can combine solution. For example, if you're looking at the OOPS concepts, we write the classes and the subclasses when we are doing programming. So now one class can be reused in many areas, right? And the better you can write those classes which can be reused, is you become a better programmer, because you know how to bring out the value in each one of them. So look at it from that standpoint. What parts of the problem can you combine which can give you a better outcome? Adapt is something what you need to look at it from a solution standpoint and a process standpoint. What are the things which I need to adapt to when things change? For example, let's say you're developing an application for, let's say, iOS 15, all right? Now, your process needs to include, in another 2 years, iOS 17 will come. I'm just giving a random example. So iOS 17 will come. And when it comes, how smoothly will my app transition and function on the new OS, right? So what are the things you need to consider while building your technology where you can adapt? I'm just talking about technology. It can be any non-technology. You can start talking about, let's say, the earlier days, the beauty parlors, what they were there. If it was a facial, you remember they used to apply paste on the face and leave it for half an hour, 40 minutes, then scrap it out and all the stuff. I know even today they do. But there is something which makes it more easier, which is nothing but the mask. You wash your face, put the mask, and leave it for 15 minutes, and then wash your face. There is freshness in your face. So the whole process of facials, right, process adapts to the new technology which came in, which is nothing but a mask. I just gave this example and that example on the reverse side. So all I'm saying is, when you are focusing on building your solution, please ensure how fast can you adopt or adapt to the new technologies which are coming in, and the new challenges what you face, and the new requirements which keep coming into the market. Put to another use enables you to think in such a way that the solution you design can I use it somewhere else, or to solve any other problem in a different fashion. So that's what it is, to identify the parts of the process or the technology or the product which can be put to use in a different scenario altogether. Eliminate allows you to identify and remove unwanted steps which can be completely avoided. For example, let's say you're building an application and you need to build an authentication module for something. Can I replace it with something else? There are definitely third-party tools which are available for authentication and authorization. Just include them in your product and it solves the problem. You need not build it from the scratch, right? So it allows you to identify what can you replace and what cannot you replace and what becomes your USP. The last is nothing but in times of problem articulation, is there a way that I can do reverse engineering and find where the problem is at any point of time? So this all goes into more of the technology aspect and enables you to think from a different perspective altogether. This is one reason I included this method in today's session. Very seldom we hear the scamper method, but I personally feel it is very, very important in a context of the situations we are in today and how we are building solutions. Brainwriting is opposite of brainstorming. Now, what happens in brainwriting is you write the idea, right, and pass on that paper to people and let people keep adding thoughts to that idea, right? Or you write the problem, you write the solution, and keep people writing it. So the advantage with brainwriting is you can share it with a lot more people online. So for example, your group of friends, I mean, if you're doing brainstorming, it's the people around you. You can bring 5, 10 people, 15 people, 20 people and get this done. But if you can write that problem and the solution, share it with 100 people and say, hey, this is the problem I'm trying to solve and this is how I'm solving. Do you have any better ideas? People keep giving their inputs on that document. So that becomes a lot more stronger use case for you to see how people are using it. Now, this ideation technique is called mind mapping. This is my favorite way because I'm more of a visual person, and for everything what I do, I look at doing a mind map. There are a lot of mind map tools which are available for free. I use something called XMind. There are a lot of other things. The picture you're seeing is from a screenshot from a ClickUp website, which is for demonstration purposes. I took it from there. So mind mapping gives you the perfect way to look at a problem and a solution. So even for when I'm preparing for these sessions, I do a mind map of, okay, today's session, what are the things I'm going to cover? What are my talking points? How long will that talking point last? And if there is an example I want to give, what kind of example I want to give? So everybody has their own way. I'm more a visual person, so I use mind mapping. If you're a visual person, I would highly recommend start doing mind mapping because it'll help you not to miss out any key things what you want to showcase or talk or demonstrate during your sharing experiences with the other team members. So mind mapping is one fantastic tool which will help you a lot if you are doing things on your own and you want to communicate this to everybody else. Now, before we get into ideation process, I want to go back, and if you have any questions, please see the comments. Please comment and I will respond back. Alternatively, I have created a Discord group for the 5 weeks to startup challenge. The link is in the description. Click on it, register, and we can start talking out there. So joining the Discord group is absolutely free for answering questions and and answers and capturing everything at one shot, at one place. So that's the whole idea of that. Since this is a YouTube channel and I'm uploading this video, a two-way interaction might not be happening at immediate instant. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments or join the Discord group and you can start asking questions there. I can help. All right. Now, after looking at the 7 ideation techniques, let me explain the ideation process and what is the importance of that process. This is my own creation in terms of my learnings. The ideation is divided into 7 aspects. The first 10% is your idea, which is nothing but your intuition. The second 20% is the big picture, and which comes with the domain knowledge or the knowledge what you have. The strength of the solution and the effectiveness of the solution what you're building becomes the third 20%. Creativity is plays a very crucial role in helping you understand how you can solve the problem better. You can do brainstorming, reverse brainstorming, brainwriting. You can use these techniques to bring out more creativity to build a more efficient solution. Communication is the ability to communicate what is the problem you're solving, how you're solving, so that it has the maximum impact on the end user or your potential customer. Again, you can use a combination of the ideation techniques to help you get there. Acceptance is when people understand that you're solving a big problem and they're becoming a part of it and giving you suggestions on how you can make the solution better. That's when you assess the acceptance. And the last but not the least, and the entire ideation process is, how do you make money solving this problem? So, ideation process consists of intuition, knowledge, strength, creativity, communication, acceptance, and how do you make money? So, this is what makes an ideation process and enables you to tell if your process was a success or not. Believe me, if these 7 steps are taken care, no matter what tools and techniques you use, you're building a winning product. Especially for the first timers who are wanting to jump in and do something or solve a big problem or a small problem. Nothing is small in this world. So spend as much time as you can in the ideation process, and trust me, it'll help you in succeeding in what you do. Most of the ideas which fail, or which most of the entrepreneurs who fail, do not spend enough time on the ideation. So focus on that and start building your product. And one other aspect what I mentioned in this week is domain knowledge. I've talked about all the 2-3 aspects, which is on-the-job training, certification, I'm sorry, independent learning. All these things become part of domain knowledge. One of the key aspects what I personally learned when I started my journey in health tech segment is I had a wonderful opportunity to shadow a few doctors in a well-known hospital in Bangalore. I did this internship for about 6 months and spent time. So morning I go to the hospital, shadow the doctor or the department head about which department I want to learn for that day. Shadow them throughout the day. No ifs and buts, no taking breaks. When they are taking a break, I used to take a break and just follow, make my notes and understand how the whole thing runs. So at end of the day, if I had any questions, I used to ask them. Otherwise, I used to focus on writing my notes and going back. So anyway, after shadowing them, I would write my notes and send it to them. And if they had any other thoughts, or if I didn't understand something correctly, they would have commented on that, or they would have shared with me, Hari, this is how you do it. So shadowing people, shadowing seniors, or if you're wanting to do something in a very different domain, go from the ground up. So when we were building Haplo, the idea was to build a SaaS for real estate. Now, to understand real estate, you need to be in the real estate segment. So what I did was I requested my potential clients to give me an opportunity to spend time from their security guard room to the gen room, to the generator room, to the entire maintenance department. Everywhere I shadowed, understood what they do, understood what checklists they do, how does it have an impact on the reporting or the operational efficiencies. All these things we understood. We came back and we started building the platform. So that took about 1-2 months for us to spend time and to collate all the understanding. But because this is a very, very different segment and everybody has their own way of doing things. So we did with 2 clients and we got a fair understanding of how people look at it. But even now, when we talk to new potential clients, they say, Hari, you know what? We do this in a very different way. Okay, so that's a learning for us. But otherwise, we have the basic understanding of how workflows happen in commercial real estate, and then we start taking things forward. So I would highly recommend shadow somebody in that area who is working on delivering those kind of solutions and understand how they do it. That will give you a lot more impact. I can tell you one thing for sure. Solutions which are forced on consumers don't work. perfectly they don't work, the adoption rates will be less. But if it's a process oriented solution and people have to follow it, people do follow it. But the moment you start building the solution according to how they want to see it, that becomes more meaningful and more impactful. So do not discard domain knowledge. Do not put it on a low priority. Spend as much time as you can. And domain knowledge is not something you learn one day and you start working on it next day. It's a continuous evaluation process. It's a continuous learning process. Even though it's been like 3-4 years we started Haplo, we still have new things to learn and amazing new things to learn. And there are areas where we bring in new ideas and tell the operators, why don't you look at this idea? And that gives an extra edge for us, because we're just not building a solution and forcing them to use, but we're building a solution which they want to adapt and use. So that becomes very important. So look at all these things, attend as many conferences as you can, talk to as many people, and use Google to the fullest potential. And these days ChatGPT is giving you much more better information, or structured information, I would say, in terms of for a particular question. Google becomes a little generic, but ChatGPT can be a point-wise answer if you have a very, very specific question on that particular domain. So this is the masterclass on ideation and domain knowledge for the week 1 of the 5 weeks to startup challenge. Hope these aspects help you gain the confidence and put you in the right track to start thinking on what you should do for building your startup. So nothing is stopping you. Start going and building the product which you feel will solve a key problem area for people around you and also across the world. Once again, if you have any questions, please do comment or join the Discord group on the Visionary Lab channel for the 5 weeks to startup. The link is in the description and we can start off conversations there. All right, I will see you next week, Monday, for week 2, day 1 of the 5 weeks to startup challenge. Have a wonderful and productive weekend. Bye-bye.